Why do you do information design? Why do some of you do data visualization? Probably the answer is different for each one of us. In the session before the break, we had Maria and Lourdes talk about their work on using data visualization to raise socio-economic and political awareness. That's the kind of work that Ekaterina and I are strongly believing in. We believe in graphics with a cause. We believe that data visualization can actually save the world, that information graphics will save our planet. So we're going to talk about charts for change. We're going to talk about changing the world one diagram at a time. Changing the world one map at a time. Visualizing information for activism and advocacy. Graphics with a cause. If we would have to define that, it would be something like visualizations of information that are intended to raise awareness about social or environmental issues. With that definition, you realize that, I see some of the speakers of the previous session, I mean you, the kind of work that we just saw before the break. So visualizations of information that are intended to raise awareness about social or environmental issues includes the work of Maria and Lourdes, includes the work of Will that we saw on climate change and the effects on health, for example. It includes Rupesh, the work that you do on distributing the census information in India. And if you think about it, many of us have been in information design for a very long time. So we've seen many presentations, and whenever you see a presentation about the history of our field, whenever you see a presentation about the history of information design, we always see the same images. We see the Napoleon March to Moscow. We see Snow's cholera map. We see Nightingale's rose. We'd say that most of those are graphics with a cause in the sense that we just defined. Nightingale's rose is about preventable disease. So is Snow's cholera map. The Napoleon March to Moscow has been called an anti-war pamphlet. And quoted by Lourdes and Maria, Otto Neurath's isotype work does not need an introduction with this audience. The isotype graphics trying to raise awareness about social inequalities, child mortality, and other issues are certainly graphics with a cause. Currently, Hans Rosling, professor of public health in Stockholm, called by some people the rock star of data visualization, is presenting these statistical charts. The videos of his statistical charts on the internet have literally been viewed by millions and millions and millions of people. They're usually about life expectancy, child mortality, HIV, income situation in the world. So those are certainly graphics with a cause. What we'd like to do for the remainder of this talk about graphics with a cause is to choose two heroes that we want to discuss, being Otto Neurath and Hans Rosling. Our two heroes concerning graphics with a cause. And our main claim in this talk will be that Rosling is walking in the footsteps of Neurath in many different ways, probably without realizing it. And that Rosling is not the only one walking in Neurath's footsteps. Concerning Rosling and Neurath, we started comparing the two a few years ago in a paper titled Diagrams for the Masses, and we'll build upon that today. One way in which Rosling is walking in Neurath's footsteps is the belief in information access for everyone, what we would call open data today. That was part of Isotype's agenda, the belief that everyone should have access to knowledge. A very clear second way in which Rosling is walking in the footsteps of Neurath is the enthusiasm about the visual. Their belief that the visual communication is very powerful. Neurath's famous motto, "Words divide, pictures unite," is also what drives Rosling's colorful moving bubble charts. Of course, that's a very different visual language. But what unites them is the idea that the visual reaches the eye and the brain and has a direct impact. As a side note, some of you may have seen that Rosling has started using isotype language. The funny little man syndrome has reached Hans Rosling. Here he shows us each person standing for 1 billion people, and he shows us the poverty line, and he shows us the airline, which is the line that separates all of us in this room, customers of airlines, from the rest of the world population. Another way in which Rosling is walking in Neurath's footsteps is that they're both creating graphics with a cause. They're believing in empowerment of people by raising awareness on urgent issues in society. Another way in which Rosling is walking in Neurath's footsteps is related to their worldview, to their philosophy. Logical positivism. Anyone? Neurath, Vienna Circle. Neurath is one of the founders and key proponents of this philosophical school of logical positivism. The circle of Neurath and his fellow Vienna philosophers wanted science, please. They wanted to separate myths from facts and get rid of the myths in favor of the facts. There's not much left of logical positivism these days because we've learned from the postmodernists that there is no such thing as truth and facts and that all reality is culturally and socially constructed. However, logical positivism is not completely dead. Hans Rosling and Gapminder ask us to help them cross the river of myths, and Gapminder's tagline is actually "for a fact-based worldview." Gapminder's mission statement: fighting the most devastating myths by building a fact-based worldview that everyone understands. This is very much a revival of the logical positivism of Otto Neurath. Museum work connects the two. You know that Otto Neurath was a director of museums. He was working on exhibitions. Interactive exhibitions to physically engage people. Sometimes there were buttons that you could push, lights that would go on for people to test their knowledge. Gapminder actually says that they see themselves as a modern museum on the internet. And Rosling is actually working these days with a museum designer to make interactive installations. What he does is he's projecting the graphic on a table. He dresses up as a croupier. He has people estimate what is happening in the course of 50 years with the life expectancy of Bangladesh, for example. They place their bets. He runs the machine. Faites votre jeu, rien ne va plus. And then the people who made the best bets, they win, and the rest they lose. This is really physical engagement with data. Finally, both used the very latest technology of their time. The latest technology in Otto Neurath's time was film. So Neurath was involved with making documentary film.
Obviously, the amount of food grown must be controlled. A restriction program to ensure good prices. Hold on. Wait a minute. Listen.
We're hungry.
They're dumping coffee in the sea.
We're tired, thirsty.
They're plowing in the wheat crop.
This is tragic. Not someone do something.
They're throwing back fish in the sea. Why? In God's name, why? Because you haven't got enough money. Not enough to make it worth their while to feed you.
How much money have they got?
Mind if I use a diagram?
Not in this case. Go ahead.
Out of every 20 people receiving income in the United States, 3 get a reasonable income of $30 a week each. 12 out of the 20 get only $15 a week. While on the other hand, 4 out of 20 are well-to-do. And 1 is immensely rich. That's the position.
In this clip from A World of Plenty, which was one of the Isotype documentaries made, we see the powerful interplay between documentary footage, voiceovers, and moving diagrams in a way that they all support one another and enhance the narrative that's trying to be explained. And we might think, why would documentary film and data visualization work together? Well, Rotha knew it, Otto Neurath knew it exactly, and he said because documentary film targets our emotional stimuli and it connects us to the reality around us, whereas data visualization targets our intellect and connects us to arguments. World of Plenty was just one of the 17 documentaries made together by Otto Neurath and Paul Rotha, who was a well-known British filmmaker. And these films were very revolutionary for their time. They used the most advanced technology known. It was the cinematic medium. They were using these moving diagrams. And by bringing the isotype to the movies, they were able to engage the audience, engage a mass audience, which was a whole purpose of Neurath's work. Fitting with the logical positivism we were just discussing, Rotha's production company was also called Films Effect. In another example, from A City Speaks, which was another documentary made together by Paul Rotha and Neurath, we see a segment about infant mortality. This is interspersed with documentary footage and a voiceover, but the diagram is very powerful. At the beginning, 10 children are born. Within 1 year, 3 die off. Another year passes, and another one dies. Eventually, only 4 out of 10 children make it to first grade. This is a very clear and powerful image. So we can say that both Neurath and Rotha knew the power of using data visualization together with documentary film. And they knew that this powerful fusion would create films with a cause. It particularly works because of their shared motivations and goals. Data visualization and documentary film are both trying to raise awareness about important issues. They are both visually representing factual information, and they are both trying to aid in our decision-making with persuasive and factual images. We can also follow Neurath's footsteps in recent contemporary documentary examples. For example, you're all probably familiar with Al Gore's film Inconvenient Truth, where he used diagrams to draw connections between temperature and carbon dioxide to emphasize the urgency of global warming and the impact that it could have. In another film, Inside Job, a recent documentary, visualizations illustrate the financial crisis and the extent of our corruptive political systems that are leading to wealth inequality. In another film, IOUSA, we see how it's looking at the unsustainable policies that have burdened the US financial system and where the money is going. The digital revolution is also bringing on the latest technology of the day, creating new opportunities to engage audiences. from documentaries, we have moved on to web documentaries. And a lot of these are also interactive web documentaries, where viewers are actually being transformed into active users that are able to interact with the data in a way that can help raise awareness about the issues around them because of the personal connection to the data, of being able to see what small changes, how small changes could transform the world around them. But of course, graphics can also deceive and can be misleading.
Yeah, you can prove anything with diagrams. Give me a half hour with Walt Disney and I can pay my income tax and never feel it.
Interestingly, Rotha and Neurath actually included this critical voice as a rhetorical device in their documentary films.
As I was saying, if you don't mind, I was trying to make this point about our two heroes of graphics with a cause, making clear that Rosling is walking in Neurath's footstep. All this documentary work of Neurath is Neurath using the latest media technology. Rosling, to conclude with that as our argument, is also stepping into Neurath's footsteps by using the latest media technology of our time. He's not only using the animated graphics, he's using interactive graphics. He's putting them on YouTube. He's been called the YouTube professor. He is making heavy use of Facebook, heavy use of Twitter. He is tweeting about child mortality in Africa. So our concluding argument is that even Rosling's heavy use of Twitter is a way in which he is walking in the footsteps of Otto Neurath in using the very latest media technology available at the time. And just out of curiosity, I looked up twitter.com/Otto Neurath, and there we learned that Otto Neurath has not tweeted yet.